A very good morning to my friends. This is our PPT presentation of Windows Server administration. The course the core is DFN50223 and this is our group member Ling Wize, Ivan Yanseling and Aaron Yan Zxian. Okay, so what is the DNS? DNS is the name is the domain name system. DMS is like the phone book that translating human-friendly domains into the numerical IP address that computer use to communicate. Without DNS, you would need to memorize and type IP address. So this is the diagram about the how verify how does DNS work in a Windows Server environment. Explain the structure of DNS, including zones and records, and how DNS resolution works within a Windows Server network. How DNS works. For example, it like a Windows Server environment. DNS is function as a name resolution service that translates human-friendly domain names like server1.com.org into IP address like 1.1.1.1 so that computers can communicate with each other. Usually, there are got four types of jobs hosted by the DNS server. That is first, we can see this is the primary jobs. We store the jobs data in a local file in a ADDS to it because the function want to create, edit or delete result records. You must use the primary job and secondary job. A secondary job is a read-only copy of a primary job. In most cases, a secondary job periodically copies results records directly from the primary job, but in some complex configurations, a secondary job can copy results records from another sequence. Then, there is the a stub job only contains information about the authoritative name servers for the job. The job hosted by the DNS server must obtain its information from another DNS server that hosts the job. This DNS server must have network access to the removed DNS server to copy the authoritative name server. And last is the reverse lookup. Clients use a known IP address and look out a computer name based on its address. Not only that, we also got many types of records. First, A record. The record that hosts the IP address of a domain that we know. A records is usually like IPv4, and then second is AAAA record. The record that contains the IPv6 address for a domain as opposed to A records which lists the IPv4 address. CNAME record is forwards or forwards one domain or subdomain to another domain does not provide an IP address. MS records is directs mail to an email server. TST records lets an admin store test notes in the record, and the records are often used for the email. NS records is store the name server for a DN. And SOA record is store admin information. About the SRB records is usually specifies a port for specific. PTR record provides a domain name in the every device on a network has a unique IP address and a host name. As we know, the host name includes part like the subdomain, domain name, and extension. For example, like .com or .org. So based on this diagram, we can see app.data.doghq.com. So that we know first, app is the subdomain and data doghq.com is the domain name, and the data doghq is the parent domain, and the last is .com is domain extension. This makes Uh, the domain makes our more easier for people to find and connect to the device so we can easily connect with each other.
So good morning everyone, and I'm Limoiser, and my number matrix is 21DDT 23F1009. And now I'm going to present about how to apply DNS with Active Directory. And here is the question. Examiner, how does DNS integrate with Active Directory in a Windows Server setup? Discuss the role of DNS in domain controller location, replication, and how to configure DNS for Active Directory to function properly. So now move to our answer. Okay, here is our first answer. DNS and Active Directory integration. First is DNS is essential for Active Directory. We call it AD functionality. AD relies on DNS to locate domain. Controller is called DCS, and global catalog server and service via SRV record. So now let's move to second answer. So here is the second answer. Key role of DNS in Active Directory. First, domain controller location. Client use DNS to find DC using SRV record like IDAP underscore TCP dot DC underscore msdcs dot domain dot local. This is how to find our DC. So second is replication. DC register with DNS so other DC can replicate data between sites. And the last is service registration. When a DC is promoted, it registers its host name, IP, and AD service in DNS. So here is the answer for key role of DNS in Active Directory. So how to configure DNS for Active Directory? Here have five parts. First is install the DNS. Server role on the Windows Server. Second, create a forward zone lookup zone name after your AD domain. For example, contoso.local. Third is create a forward lookup zone name after your AD domain. Example, consto.local. Fourth is during ADDS installation, select the option to install DNS if it isn't not already installed. And the last is ensure client and DC point to the internal DNS server, not external one like Google DNS. So now let's move to a second question, which is DHCP, and we call it Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So general DHCP functionality verify how does DHCP work in a Windows server environment to automatically assign IP address to device on a network. Explain what are common issues that arise with DHCP in Windows Server and how can they be solved and how DHCP works. So let's move to another slide to answer it. So here is the answer for the previous question. So DHCP automates the process of assigning IP address and related network configuration parameter to client. So DHCP process, we call it DORA. So D stands for discovery, O stands for offer, R stands for request, A stands for acknowledge. So discover. How is discover? Client send a broadcast to locate DHCP server and offer DHCP server reply with an IP address. Offer request. Client request the offer IP and acknowledge. Server send an acknowledgement with the list. So here's the answer for the previous question. And this is the process how DHCP to work. Okay, here is a component of DHCP. So first, DHCP scope is a range of IP address the server can assign. For example, 192.168.1.100 until 192.168.1.200. Second, list. Time limited assign of IP address. Third, reservation. IP permanently assigned to specify MAC address. For option, additional setting like default gateway, DNS server, and domain name and edit central. So this four of them is the component of DHCP. And here is my last part, and I will pass to my another group member. And thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aaron Yatsen, and today I'm going to explain about DHCP in Windows Server. By managed via DHCP management console, can be integrated with Active Directory for secure updates. Can support failover, allowing redundancy between two DHCP servers. Common issue that rises with DHCP in Windows Server and how can they be solved? Most probably issue are IP address exhaustion, clients not getting IP conflicts, and leash not renew, DHCP fail over issues. For IP address exhaustion, the causes are too many devices and too small pool. The solution will be increase scope size or reduce leash time. Client not getting IP, DHCP server might not authorize the IP. By by doing that, we need to authorize in AD DHCP console. IP conflicts, static IPs in DHCP range, and use exclusion or reservation to prevent IP conflicts. Client shutdown or time mismatch. We can sync server time or restart client NIC. DHCP failover issue, uh, most probably caused by improper configuration, and solution is check the replication partners config. Next question will be DHCP configuration standard in Windows Server. Examine what are the key steps in setting up and configure a DHCP server on the Windows Server network. Discuss the configuration of DHCP scope, reservation, IP address, range, lease, duration, and failover setting. Explain what are the best practice for maintaining DHCP in a Windows Server environment. These are the key steps to configure DHCP server. Install DHCP role via Server Manager. Authorize the server in Active Directory. Create a scope IP range. Example 1192.168.1.100 to 200. Subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS server. Lease duration will go by default 8 days. Set exclusion for static device. Add reservation. Bind specific IPs to MAC addresses. Configure option. Opinion will be default gateway, DNS server, and DNS domain name. DHCP failover setup. Right click scope, configure failover, choose mode, load balance. Both servers serves leashes or hot standby, one active, one backup. Set partner server and share secret. Best practice for DHCP in Windows Server. Protect DHCP with server authorization to block rogue DHCP servers. Regularly verify failover replication status. Use reservation instead of static IP. Monitor scope usage regularly. Set appropriate leash duration, shorter for guest/Wi-Fi, longer for desktop. Backup DHCP database, NetSH DHCP server export, audio log, window/window system 32/DHCP. That's all from me. Thank you.